Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you are now tuned into the Investor Show. As always, this is your gracious host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live from the beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado. As you guys and girls can see,
hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, hit that like, comment, and share button.
We have a very, very special guest on with us today. We got the money man himself, the Colorado State Treasurer, Mr. Dave Young. I finally got him, ladies and gentlemen. I saw him speak. He spoke at it was Economical Literacy Council. Shout out to Debbie Pearson. I meant to grab him after that, but he was so fast. He was on the stage and he was gone. I was like, did anybody see Mr. Young? So, but I put it on my calendar. I said, hey, I got to find out a way to get in contact with him and to see if he'd be interested in coming on the show. Reached out to him, great team, great staff, said yes, and they'll be glad to come on. So today, we're talking to our Colorado State Treasurer. Without further ado, let me introduce Colorado's State Treasurer, Mr. Dave Young. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Prince, and thanks for having me on.
Can you get a little bit closer to the mic?
You can.
Or you can pull the mic to you. Pull the mic to you.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for stopping by. So the first thing, for people who may not know who you are, who is Dave Young? And I know you got the story of becoming from a school teacher to becoming the treasurer. How did this happen, being Colorado raised to becoming the Colorado treasurer?
Well, you're right. I was an educator for 35 years. Taught middle school math, science, and technology for about 25 years. I taught at CU Denver for about a decade. I never thought I would get into politics, but my sister, who's intellectually, excuse me, fog in my throat here with all that dirt.
I know, right? I'm doing the same thing. That's why.
The breeze. I have a sister who's intellectually and developmentally disabled.
Okay.
And she literally was homeless for a year. I don't know how somebody that disabled, that vulnerable, ends up being homeless in Colorado. And I started trying to work the system to figure out how to solve that problem. And along the way, discovered there were a lot of other families that were experiencing the same thing with a loved one that was really desperate for services and couldn't get them. So the guy who was the state representative in our area up in Greeley, we live in Greeley, my wife and I, decided to be the commissioner of insurance. Hickenlooper invited him to do that. So he left his position as state representative, and I put my name in and was selected for the state representative position. I served in that position for almost 8 years. In the last 4 years, I was on the budget committee, and I learned a lot about the state's finances and along the way. And somebody says, well, now that you know everything there is to know about the finances, you should run for treasurer. So in 2018, I ran and was elected as treasurer, and I just ran again for re-election and was reelected.
Nice. Okay. So you're on your second term as the treasurer. Some people out there, they're like, so what does the treasurer do? I didn't even know who our treasurer was. Right. What does our treasurer do? What does the Colorado State Treasurer do?
Well, we manage all the state's money. Now, the Department of Revenue.
How much money is that?
Well, at any given time, we have about $20 billion that we're managing.
$20 billion.
The state's budget's $40 billion, but it doesn't come in all at one time. And so we're not the Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue collects the taxes, but as soon as they collect them, they come to us, and we manage that. So just like everybody else with a budget and a checking account, you have to make sure you've got enough in the bank account to cover everything that you are writing checks for. One of the main things we write checks for is paychecks. People don't want their paychecks to bounce. So they want to be sure that the money in the bank is there so that everything goes through. And the legislature is right now in the middle of firming up the budget for next year. And so they're going to decide for a full year how that money needs to be spent. But along the way, day by day, somebody has to actually manage the cash flow to make sure we can meet all the obligations. And that's what we do in the Treasury. We also manage financings. So big projects, transportation projects, big capital projects for universities to build buildings, that sort of thing. We manage the financings for that. We do the great Colorado payback, unclaimed property. Over $1 billion in unclaimed property.
We're gonna get to that.
I know we want to get back to that because that's fun to talk about. But we have some big initiatives that we've done as well around retirement savings. And by the way, I serve on the Para Board, Colorado Para Public Employees Retirement Association.
So you control the pensions, like all the pensions. You kind of allocate
right
where the pensions go for maybe investing for teachers and firefighters and things like all the state workers.
Yep.
Wow, nice.
And that portfolio is about $60 billion. So at any given time, I'm responsible for about $80 billion.
$80 billion.
Right.
$80 billion man here. Look at this, guys. He's here. Now, the first thing I wanted to get into, you was just touching on this, and I saw this. What is the Colorado Unclaimed Property Program? I mean, it sounds simple, like, okay, it's unclaimed property. Okay, what does that mean, dude? I don't think it's my property, but how do I get, so what is the Colorado Unclaimed Property Program?
Well, a lot of people ask that. And, let me tell you a personal story that'll give you an idea. My mom was an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, this was before technology, before we had the web, they used to print in the Denver Post all the people that had unclaimed
I don't know,
property.
Dave, you kind of dating yourself. You're like, well, this is before the web. It was like before.
He said, "Oh, I could take you back further than that."
Before these computer things, we used to. But okay, so your mom was an accountant. They used to print it in the local paper.
In the Denver Post, they used to print all the names and pages and pages and pages of people's names. So one day I'm looking in there, and my mom's name is in there 3 times. I said, "Mom, you have unclaimed property." And she was offended. She's an accountant.
I'm an accountant. What do you mean?
I keep track of my money. I didn't lose any money, but it wasn't that. Here's what happened. My grandmother took out 3 life insurance policies and didn't tell anybody she'd bought these. So nobody in the family knew.
Wow.
And unfortunately, she wrote the wrong address into the policy, so the checks never arrived. So we weren't looking for the checks. The checks didn't come. And eventually they ended up in the Colorado Treasury because they were unclaimed. And so we went through a process to claim that. It was about $3,500 between the 3 life insurance policies. So not a lot of money, but certainly you're not going to turn it away.
Yeah.
And so this is the kind of, it's not that people are lazy or forgetful. A lot of times it's just money they didn't even know was out there. And it's also safety deposit box contents. So somebody passes away, they've got a safety deposit box. The bank doesn't know who their heirs are. And so eventually we get the contents of the safety deposit boxes. So we have like a 6.5 carat canary diamond ring. And we have gold coins and baseball card collections. And
let me ask you this question. What do you, when you collect these things, how big is the value on this unclaimed property?
Well, there's over $1 billion in value. Most of it's money. Most of it's money. We have stocks.
Wait, let me get this right. So Colorado has over $1 billion in unclaimed property that they're looking for people to claim.
Absolutely. And we've made it very easy. The website address, not so easy, colorado.findyourunclaimedproperty.com. Well, I didn't dream that up. That's not the one I would have picked, but that's what it is, colorado.findyourunclaimedproperty.com. But you can actually go very easily now and go to the website. If you're on a laptop or a computer, the page will have a picture of me on there. So you have some surety that you're at the right spot. And then you can just search by address, name, address, zip code, something like that. And you'll get all kinds of, if you have an unclaimed property, it'll come back. Sometimes very common name like mine is pretty common. Yours might not be.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
So, but you might get some claims that are really not yours or other people's because they have the same name. But you can go through and kind of decide which ones you think are yours and put in a claim. Now, we're very diligent about checking.
Hold on, wait now, Dave. It's a search box. Right. You go in and just put it in a search box like, hey, let me check my mom's name, dad's name.
You can do that. You could check your family members' names. You could check people you work with. You could check
people you work. So it's public record, like anybody.
Yeah, it's totally public. Yeah, but only the person who is the real owner can claim and receive the property.
Receive the property. Okay.
Yeah.
What if that person is deceased? Do you have to?
Well, we get this a lot. Yeah, like with the safety deposit boxes, you get this. So, and like with my grandmother, right? Same kind of thing. So what we do is we go through a process. If you can prove that you are the rightful owner, for example, if you're the court-appointed personal representative or you're named in a will, then if the person's deceased, you're the person that would be receiving that property. But the staff is going to go through a process. So just because you put in a claim, you may be asked to submit additional
more
information
to make sure.
And, the property has to be what we call dormant for 5 years. So
dormant, what is dormant?
That means no one's laid claim to it. It's been inactive for 5 years. So they don't just, send out one notice and then 30 days later ship it out. It's had to sit there for a while.
Or you put on the unclaimed properties list.
Right.
So let's say if a bank has a safe deposit box or old savings account, something, they contact the treasurer and say, hey, we want to get this off our books, get rid of this. And they pass on to you, give you all the information. You say it has to sit with you for 5 years?
No, it sits with them for 5 years.
Before they even come to the treasurer.
Right. It sits with us forever.
So it's never an expiration date.
Exactly right.
Where do you store all this stuff?
We've got a big safe in the Capitol. But really, honestly, that's just a safety deposit box. The money is, it's
digital,
not sitting in there. Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, that sounds like a lot of stuff. Like, where's this big, hey, we got a baseball bat, or it's some things that you turn down, like, hey, come on,
Well, no, it's safety deposit box stuff.
Okay,
so it's not like cars and houses,
guns,
well, we do have some guns. We actually have the world's smallest gun.
The world's smallest gun. Somebody passed it down.
Well, it was in a safety deposit box.
Got it. Okay.
Interestingly, we thought it was a charm from a charm bracelet.
Oh.
And then we saw a YouTube video of somebody actually shooting a similar gun through a Coke can. And we went, oh,
that might be
that's actually a working firearm.
Wow.
So we do have some of that. But, most of it's just interesting. Some of it doesn't have a lot of monetary value, but war medals would be very important to some family. And so we auction off things that are, more common because we run out of room in the safe. But anything that we think has real family value, we'll hold on to and really work to try to get back to the family. So.
Okay. What else you want to say about that program before we go to the next piece?
Well, 2 years ago, I was president of all unclaimed property programs around the world. So we have provinces in Canada and programs as far away as Kenya. So you can go to a much simpler website, missingmoney.com, and you can go click into the map. And for example, maybe you left something behind in Hawaii, Prince, and you want to go check there. You can go to the map, click in, and do a similar search with their program there. And so really encourage people. This is people's money. This is not tax revenue. This is people's belongings, and we encourage them to go and check it out. It's also businesses, it's nonprofits. The Humane Society of Pikes Peak Region discovered they had $98,000 they weren't aware was sitting in unclaimed property, and they went and claimed it.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So now we learned something new today.
Yeah, churches, school districts.
Now, like if something just go unclaimed for a long time, can it be bidded away?
Well, we do.
Auctions. Like, do you just do auctions?
We do auctions if it's low level stuff. We
can't. What is considered low level?
I don't know what the threshold is. Like I said, I think usually something that we can look at and say this has real value to a family. Like I said, the war medals we're not going to auction off. We're going to hold on to those because if we can find the family, if there's no way to identify, we may give them to the veterans groups to display or something yeah. But if we think there's some family value to that, we're not going to auction that off. But the safe is full, so occasionally we have to do eBay auctions. We're even talking about doing a kind of a large estate auction to clear out some.
How often do you do that?
Not real often.
How do you publicize it?
COVID kind of slowed us down. But we can get you information on when the little eBay auctions are happening.
Sure. Okay, well, yeah, keep in contact to see auctions that goes on from the treasurer.
But even better than that, we should just get people to go claim
it. Yeah. Just look it up.
I don't want to auction off. Just go claim it.
Yeah, so look it up. Okay, so we'll definitely tell everybody out there, go out there, search your grandmother's name. I got to do that myself,
Yeah.
Check. Is there a national database?
Well, that's this missingmoney.com.
Okay, Missing Money. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, missingmoney.com. Go check that out and put your name and family member's name in that too. Now, I want to get into something that I've seen that seems to be rather new that you did, but I don't understand it all the way. I had some of the people, I knew some of the people that sit on the board and kind of helped this come to fruition, but I want to get some understanding. What is the Colorado Secure Savings Program and how does that work?
Well, that's a great question. We're really excited about this program. When I came into office in 2019, we already knew we had a retirement savings problem. Mm-hmm. It's not unique to Colorado. I think everybody knows people aren't saving enough. You know, we got people that work for an entire career and are contributing to society through the work that they do, but they don't have savings to supplement Social Security. They get to retirement age and they don't have enough to be sustainable in retirement. And that just breaks my heart to think that somebody work an entire career and then not be able to retire. So either they retire because they can't continue to work, or they have to just continue to work because they don't have savings. And so we did a study to see if we could figure out what solutions would be. And we looked at a couple of different states that were doing programs at the same time. And we came up with a program which is now the Colorado Secure Savings Program. And I don't want to get too technical, but it's an auto IRA opt-out program. So auto means people are automatically enrolled in. It's a Roth IRA, and it's still voluntary. They can opt out if they want to. So auto IRA opt-out. And so what we discovered when we studied this when I first got into office in 2019 is people have a hard time getting started. And you know this. I appreciate you do this podcast because you're trying to raise people's awareness of financial issues and how to actually manage their money better.
Who would have thought an interview with the treasurer would have been this interesting? Most people would have been thinking like, you know, the treasurer, what am I going to learn from the treasurer? You know, but that's a good thing. Now,
well, we're all about economic justice in our office. We really want to raise people up.
Now, hold on, wait, now, Dave. If I'm a school teacher, don't I already have a retirement plan?
Right. So the people who are public sector employees are members of PARA, like I was. I was a teacher for 35 years. I'm a member of PARA. So I have a retirement program, a pension for me. As a matter of fact, that replaces Social Security because PARA has been around longer than Social Security.
Wow.
Most people don't know that. Even though that in my other jobs, I did contribute to Social Security, I'm not allowed to actually get much benefit out of Social Security. So public employees have PARA, but we're talking about people in the private sector. And we actually did a study of this. 1 million people here in the state of Colorado don't have access to retirement savings at work. That's 40% of our private sector workforce.
If I am a 16-year-old kid and I got my first job at Domino's Pizza, that was my first job. So I'm working at Domino's Pizza, I will automatically be enrolled into the Colorado Secure Savings?
If Domino's, and I don't know this for a fact, but if that Domino's did not have a retirement savings program, then they're required to enroll their
they're required to.
They're required to enroll their employees into that. Now they can opt to go with a different plan. They can go reach out to
but they got to have so you're requiring, I like that. So you're saying, hey, let's say if I got a 9-to-5 job and I'm working at, I don't know, Burger King or whatever, I'm just maybe I might be a healthcare worker and I just get an hourly wage. But you're right, you don't have a retirement account.
Right.
So you're saying, hey, every employer must provide a retirement plan.
Exactly right.
For everybody.
Now some are doing that already. And if a company is already offering a retirement plan, we aren't overrunning that. We aren't just keep doing what you're doing. Okay. The goal of the program is to create savers. We want more people to be saving for retirement.
Now, where does this money go? You say go into IRA. Does it? Who handles it on the back end? Is it a firm or
is it? Yeah.
Who is that?
This is a public-private partnership. So we went through a process to select a third-party administrator, a program administrator, and that company that was selected was Vestwell. And they have a capital backing of BNY Mellon, so that's a big, huge.
Yeah. I think I heard of them before.
I think you might have heard of them. Yeah, and then the money they keep track of the money that comes through payroll deduction and goes into this individual saver's account. So they're responsible for making sure that transfer is done well and it's all accounted for. And then we have two fund managers, BlackRock and State Street, that are actually managing the money and investing it to improve
Okay.
what they have.
So do they get to pick, or do they get options, or just like, hey, you enrolled and you automatically just put into something you don't know about, or
We have some defaults. One of the things we found is it's hard for people to make decisions about
very
this
hard,
stuff.
yeah, very
And the
hard.
financial landscape is hard to understand. A lot of acronyms, a lot of stuff. And you go and reach out to somebody and you don't know whether they're telling you the straight scoop or
You know what,
not.
Dave, I graduated high school. Not to cut you off, I graduated high school and I was in boot camp, Navy boot camp, 2 weeks after high school, and I'm sitting there and they're like, hey, something called 401k, and we got the G fund and the S fund and the I fund. Then you can get an international. I'm like, what are you talking about, right? It's a good thing because in the future, I don't know what G, S, I, F. They're like, well, the S fund is for the S&P. What is the S&P 500?
Right.
What so but we'll get into that later about the deeper concern about it. But you're right. All my buddies and friends are like, they're like, well, you could put 10% here, 20% here. People don't know. They're like, hey, what's your risk tolerance? Stuff like that. So you really don't know where to go.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of times people won't even get started because it's just too confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why we do the auto enroll. We automatically enroll them, and we have some default settings that people on contribution rate is 5% to start with, but they can adjust that. They can raise it up, lower it down, or they can opt out. We have target date funds that they go into, but as we grow more savers and the savers say, oh, we want the ability to do this or that and the other, the board that I work with is going to make decisions about what the lineup will be.
What options are coming, things like that. Okay.
Right. But we're really excited about it. And we launched it in January.
Nice. But this year?
This year. So we're already having people sign up. The employers are registering their employees. Savers are moving their money in. Is
it a cost to the company?
No, there's no cost to the business. They have to spend a little time uploading their payroll. Their employees in there, but this is actually a service from the Treasury to make this happen. So, and it's budget neutral for the state. So the savers actually are the ones that are funding the program with low level fees. And the beauty of this thing is that we're going to take people that had not been able to save before and give them an opportunity to begin to save. And it's a Roth IRA. It's probably for a lot of people in this situation, and people that work in moderate to low income jobs are getting an opportunity now to save. They didn't have that before. And so we're excited about that opportunity. I think the beauty of this is that it's not tagged to the business. This is the employee's account. So if they leave one job and move to another job, this account travels right with them. That's one of the knocks you get on 401ks. It's hard to roll it over. It's hard to make the transfer. This just continues wherever they move. They get to continue on. So we're pretty excited about it. The other thing that we're doing is we wrote into legislation that we passed in 2020 that we could do partnerships with other states. So we've been in conversations with a variety of different states. We started with some conversations with New Mexico, but we have several other states. Now, these are states that are small.
Now, who makes that call? The treasurer in the state?
Well, yeah, we reach out. Yeah, I communicate with treasurers across the country all the time.
Do you do like former President Trump? Do you just jump on Twitter and just at them and say, "Hey, Colorado,
I might pick up the phone, might send them an email,
So many ways to correspond, right? I remember sitting down, some people get, I reached out to them. Yeah, it was on Twitter.
Well, and the National Association of State Treasurers is very active, and so we have multiple meetings during the year, and we talk about these issues. These are long-range issues that are important to people. A lot of times in politics, we are pretty short-sighted because election cycles are short. But I think treasurers tend to look at the long term. We try to look out to the future and make sure that people are covered. So we're trying to lift everybody up. If a state has has a small number of savers, and the fees would be too great, they can partner with us, which is a good deal for them. The fees would become reasonable, and it helps us because our fees come down as well. So if we can bring more and more savers into the Secure Savings Program, we're excited about that because it'll benefit our Colorado savers as well.
Nice. Now, anything else you want to say on the Secure Savings? So what's the bigger plan? I guess 5 years from now, what would be the goal?
Well, we want as many of those 1 million people to be saving in some way or another. Doesn't have to be through Colorado Secure Savings, but we want to make sure that that we have more and more savers. And the reason we want to do that is because we actually calculated the cost of doing nothing. If we don't do anything about this, what happens to people? They get to retirement age, either they have to keep working because they don't have enough savings, or they can't continue to work because their bodies won't let them. What happens? Well, they don't have enough to be sustainable. So they're probably going to be on Medicaid as well as Medicare. They're going to be on housing supports. They're going to be on food supports.
Reactive versus reactive.
And so who pays those safety net services? Taxpayers do, right? We calculated $18 billion tax bill over the next 15 years. Unnecessary. We don't need to put people in this position. Let's lift them up, give them an opportunity to save all the way along through their career so they have a sustainable and dignified retirement. That's the goal.
All right. Well, anything else you want to say about the Secure Savings Program before we get to
well,
next?
Just keep your ear to the ground. I mean, we're reaching out to employers and alerting them that they need to start this. We started with the biggest employers to begin with, and we're working our way down. It's 5 or more businesses with 5 or more employees. But if you are a sole proprietor or you have just a few employees, you can still opt in. You still go to Colorado Secure Savings.
Oh, that's nice. You can say, hey, I got your retirement account.
Yeah, so go to coloradosecuresavings.com and go check it out. Either you're an employer or employee.
Or if you're self-employed.
Yeah.
So if you're self-employed, like, hey, I got my own business. I'm a barber and I need a retirement account.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, next question. What is the Climber Loan Fund Program? What is the Climber Loan Fund Program?
This is a $250 million small business loan program that we operate through the Treasury, but it again is a public-private partnership as well. It arose out of the pandemic. We had a big economic downturn when the pandemic hit, right? Remember, all the businesses were shutting down, and there was a lot of people unemployed, and we were worried about what was going to happen to a lot of our small businesses. In Colorado, we have more per capita small businesses than a lot of other states. So we wanted to really pay attention to this. What we didn't know was that the federal government was going to step in with the Paycheck Protection Program and offer
PPP.
They were going to offer forgivable loans, right, at that time. And so we set the program up, but and have all the pieces working. But most people, I mean, we're offering below market rate interest rates. But if you can get a forgivable loan, why would you take a loan even with a below market rate interest rate? Right? So we had a few loans going out, but now the PPP program is ended. We think that there's going to be more interest in the Climber program.
So the Climber, where did this money come from?
Well, so we have money that we raise through tax credit sales.
Okay.
So the Treasury brought in, by the time the program runs its full course, we'll have brought in $50 million. And then we have large contributing banks here in Colorado that are contributing the other $200 million. So $200 million coming from the private sector to match with the public sector of $50 million. Our $50 million in the Treasury is first loss money. And so we can expect a lower rate of return for those contributing banks because there's no risk there for them. And then we can offer below market rate interest rates for small businesses then. At the time pandemic was hitting, people were saying, oh, well, you can go out and get a very low interest rate loan of 10% for a small business. I'm like, I can't with a straight face look at that. So we were looking at 2.6 to 3.9%. So we want to actually offer something to
how much
businesses.
money is in this thing? Oh, how much loan can you lend out? I guess
we have $250 million. Ultimately, it comes in tranches, but ultimately, this is a $250 million.
So this is for entrepreneurs. So
businesses 100 or less, 100 employees or less.
So if you're a business, or say if you start up, I'm a sole proprietor startup, or do you qualify?
Well,
is there a minimum?
There's a requirement that you have to have some history. You have to have some past history.
Okay.
So this is not a startup fund, but
Okay.
the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, OED, has startup fund.
See, think about it. I never heard of OED. So that's a new one. So I want you to kind of slow it down a little bit.
Oh,
okay,
man,
slow it down
I'm
a
just
little
a
bit.
wealth
Yeah,
of knowledge here for you.
I know you just because I know people are going to listen. What was the OED? What was the? So if you are a new entrepreneur,
Right.
thriving with an idea, something like that,
Yeah.
you say go to OED. Now, who is
This
OED?
is the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, OEDIT. So it's EDIT is edit, so it's OEDIT.
OEDIT. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I got that. I
Now,
say it so often, and that name is so long.
So long, yeah.
I reduce it down to OEDIT. But they have a lot of different small business and support systems at OEDIT, at the Office of Economic Development. And some of them are for startup, early stage kinds of support. In fact, when I was a legislator, I ran what was called the Advanced Industries Accelerator Act that developed, startup funding and early stage funding that runs out of OEDIT still today.
Okay.
But this is for established businesses. At the time, it was looking backwards 2 years. You had to have 2 years of positive cash flow in order. And what we're trying to do is focus on those businesses that were really harmed by
restaurants
the pandemic, right? So the economic situation is changing, right? I think a lot of businesses have recovered from the pandemic, but now we're in new economic territory as far as a little bit of turbulence, and people are beginning to worry: are we going to have a recession or not? And what's that going to mean to small businesses? So we want to be there for small businesses so they can keep the doors open and keep their employees employed.
How does it? You said so. Y'all offer 2 to 3% if you can get a climber loan, right?
2.6 to 3.9. We're going to make some adjustments in the next tranche. It'll probably be a little bit higher because
Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve raised
So let's
rates.
go ahead and say 5%, right? Just to
Well,
be on
we
the
don't
safe.
know.
Let's say on the safe side,
Yeah.
So let's say
I think it'll be less than 5%.
but it's beating what retail is offering.
Right.
Right. So you
But
beating.
we work with so we're not accepting loans in the Treasury.
Yeah.
So we're working with local lenders.
Gotcha.
And you can actually go to Colorado is it? Sheena, help me out. Climate-colorado.com. I'll get it right.
Okay.
Climber-colorado.com.
Climber.
And you can see a list of the lenders that are offering climber loans.
So got it.
We work with local lenders that are actually, they're the ones that know their businesses and their communities, and they can work with you. We're supplying the capital through the program, but they're making the lending decisions. And we're also working on a program. We know a lot of businesses need technical support, and we're working to develop that, because a lot of times you find a small business hasn't even gone for a loan. They just kind of marshaled all of their money personally to start up their business. Once things get rolling and they're in business for a couple of years, in order to really get some working capital to expand, they may need to go get a loan, and they don't even have a banking relationship at this point. They don't even know what to do to go into a bank and what financials to bring in or anything else. So we're working to try to develop that technical support for them so that they're ready when they walk in to the lender. They've got everything they need, and they know if they're eligible for a climber loan and all that.
Okay. So any programs out there for, let's say, entrepreneurs? Like you just spoke about the climber, if you're already kind of more established, if you kind of more startup, you get a resource for that. Someone said, what can the treasurer do for me? I got 2 questions. What can the treasurer do for an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, or what does the state of Colorado need? Maybe it could be a business opportunity. I don't know what they say. Maybe we might need another Chick-fil-A. I don't know. What is it that, you feel as though, this could be a great opportunity for entrepreneur?
Right. Well, again, let me go back to OEDIT, the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. That's really under the governor's office in the state of Colorado. And they're the ones that actually work with a wide array of different offerings of support, revolving loan programs, startup programs. I think they've got 30 or more. And it might even pay you to actually invite somebody from OEDIT to come in and talk about all the different programs that they have. They could actually give you kind of the rundown of that. They work with the small business development centers that are scattered around the state.
Okay.
And so, there's kind of a network here that are there for people if they could take advantage of it. And I don't have all the particulars, and I might.
And you're giving up good enough for me to go research.
Yeah, I might give you some misinformation, but instead I'm saying, why don't you just actually go directly to them?
Yeah.
Invite them to come on the show. I know they love to.
Oh yeah,
we worked very closely with Jeff Kraft.
Okay.
Who is the deputy director. Eve Lieberman now was in the governor's office, is now the director. And Antonio Soto is the director of the office of the minority business office. He sits on the climber board, but he's also in the minority business office there as the director. So you've got some good contacts that you could bring in and explain the full array of offerings that are open to established businesses and entrepreneurs and people that just have a spark and want to see what they can do with that.
Yeah, me being that old retired veteran now.
Old?
Yeah, he was doing 20 years.
So old.
It's dog years. It's like dog years. So you're looking for those opportunities. You're looking like where maybe I could. Make investments here, maybe, entrepreneurship spirit, go here or there, keep your opportunities open, or you may know someone that may be interested in something like that.
Well, a lot of times I think people have this idea, but they don't know what it really takes to run a business, and all the different components that have to go into that planning wise in order to be successful. And that's where some of the support
That's where the investor show comes in. And it brings on people like Dave Young that shows you all the resources and tools that are available to you.
Yeah.
Because it's the dark spot. It's what you don't know that hurts you the most.
Exactly. Well, and things that you don't plan for.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, we get economic turbulence and then things are changing and you don't know, what do I need to do to guard myself against what's happening? So particularly tough for small businesses. So we're very sensitive to that.
Okay. So you did a study on your site for the security token offering, state capital financing, feasibility. It was kind of like a study about what cryptocurrency work for the state. Would it be transfer money faster or whatever? What was that study and what did you conclude out of that study of this the token offering? And is the state of Colorado even looking at cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins and stuff like that?
So I want to make sure you know that we're not talking about cryptocurrency. We're talking about blockchain.
I'm sorry, blockchain. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a difference between those. And, the governor made an announcement that we were going to accept cryptocurrency for payment of taxes. It's actually up on the Department of Revenue, different part of the state government than the Treasury. And the conversation I had with the governor around that, and I'll get back to the security tokens in a second, was, listen, we can't accept cryptocurrency directly into the Treasury.
So you can?
We cannot by Constitution. So,
how did they know back then that we was going to one day try to take a digital currency?
Right.
It was like, just in case.
Yeah.
No. Back in 1776.
Well,
no
1876.
1876. No digital. Well, go ahead.
Well, we only accept dollars, right?
Yes.
U.S. dollars. And so what I told the governor and the director of the Department of Revenue is, if the person who wants to pay in cryptocurrency can find a vendor to convert that to U.S. dollars and the amount comes in the right amount on time, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
And so they actually found a vendor that would do that. PayPal will convert the cryptocurrency to U.S. dollars so a person could actually pay in crypto. PayPal will convert that to dollars, and that's what we receive in the Treasury. So,
state of Colorado is not accepting the currency. It's just
right. Well, think about people can pay with a credit card.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of thing. You're using a vendor there to convert that. Yeah, so it's a similar kind of thing. So, what we're looking at here, though, is not around payment, but around investing. So I mentioned that we actually do issuance. We finance programs. So for transportation, we want to build a huge transportation project. If we don't have the money saved, then we do a financing so that we can bring in from investors money that will allow us to complete the project. And this could be a school building that we're going to build, or a library on a college campus, or any number of projects. Usually the only people that are involved, or the only entities that are involved with this, are large institutional investors that underwriters bring to the table when we do a financing. And so what this study was about is, could regular people here in the state of Colorado be investors in those processes as well? Security tokens are a regulated financing vehicle. The SEC actually does regulate security tokens.
And is that different from like the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin?
Yeah, this is a completely different thing. This is actually well regulated, and it's built on blockchain technology. So blockchain technology is a digital ledger of ownership. And so what we're looking for is an easy way for us to allow a security token to be purchased by, somebody. Maybe they want to invest $500 in one of our financings, and they become a part owner of that financing by purchasing a security token through the blockchain technology. We're looking to see, is that feasible? And what we discovered is it's feasible. We have a lot of work to do to figure out how we actually market that so that people are aware of it. We don't want them to have to buy it and hold it. A lot of our financings, don't return the money for 25 or 30 years. Somebody doesn't want to hold on to their security token. They want to sell it. There has to be a secondary market.
Yeah, the liquidity. You got to have some liquid there. Yeah,
exactly right. So I think there's some questions still to answer there.
You might create a whole industry with that.
Oh, some municipalities have been working on this already, but we're the first state to actually dig into this to see if we could do it at a state level.
Let me make sure I understand this. I'm a little slow. I was remedial. So
I don't buy that one. I don't buy that one.
I was a remedial student. So
we just didn't teach it the right way.
Exactly. Right? It was your fault, teacher. You didn't teach me right. So now I got this question. So you said, the state of Colorado is looking at blockchain technology, pretty much creating its own security token that's regulated by the SEC that people can invest in. Am I getting that correct?
They can buy a piece of that financing.
Now, if they get a piece, can they go out and spend it like a currency, or?
Well, they could sell it on the secondary market to somebody else that wants to buy that
Now, why would somebody want to buy that?
Well, they want the return on the investment. So this,
so as it grows,
it's like a bond.
How would it grow in value? That's what I meant to say.
Well, it has it's a bond. It's like a bond.
Okay.
It's like a bond. So this is a very secure kind of fixed income part of a portfolio. So
it won't pay out until 25 years later, right?
Well, it depends on whether it's called or not, but yeah, you get interest that gets paid out on it all the way along.
Would it have a term on it?
Yeah, there's always a term. Yeah.
So you'll be like, okay, 7 years, $500. It'll mature. It'll be fixed, like your return will be fixed. Right. Like, hey, we're going to give you 2. And I'm guessing
there's a coupon on it. Yeah.
And the state is looking to take that money and to do what? Create a Bitcoin outlet?
No, we're actually funding projects with it. So you want to invest in, let's say we're doing something on affordable housing, or we're doing something on water, or we're doing something on transportation or transit, or building new roadways or whatever. This is the infrastructure work that we do to try to improve the quality of life. And so people can invest in that. But sometimes people call this like the concept of a mini bond.
Yeah, mini
bond. Mini bond. Well, muni bonds is the big top title of all of this, right?
Yeah,
the muni system is what we're part of.
Now, right? What would make this different from, like somebody say, why don't you just go out and get a regular muni bond? Why go get this secured token?
Might be too big a threshold. A lot of times an individual investor might have to come up with $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 in order to buy into a financing like that. With security tokens, maybe that investment comes way down. Again, we have to find a way to market that so it's easily accessible to people, and we have to have a payment system that makes sure that this is tight and it works for people. and then there has to be a secondary market. If they're done, they want to pull their money back out for one reason or another, there has to be a secondary market where they could sell their security token.
Yeah, marketing. I feel like being a state treasurer, like if you need to get a word out, I mean, PBS, Fox, ABC should all be at your beginning call, right?
That's what she's working on.
Exactly. They should always be like, hey, we need to get the treasurer on to talk about this, blah, blah. Hey, Prince, we need you to talk to this, blah, blah, blah. Let's bring this out. We want to talk about this new program. I think, that's the treasurer. That's the money. That's the finance.
But I appreciate the work you're doing, because I think the financial landscape is very confusing to people. And I appreciate, we're coming up on Financial Literacy Month this next month.
Yep.
And, I think sometimes people are just overwhelmed by it. But if you just take a little bit of time to peel apart the different aspects of it and understand how you can access one thing or another thing and how that has value, that education is very important.
Now, Dave, you was a school teacher for 35. I'm 38 years old. You was a school teacher for 35.
You could have gone all day without telling me that.
Before you was born, young man, I retired. So think about it, right? You was a school teacher for 35 years. Why isn't financial literacy taught in school?
I tried to do that when I was teaching. I was teaching in a middle school, and I wanted to infuse financial literacy into my math classes. And I was told that I couldn't do that because it wasn't in the curriculum.
Wow.
And that if I put it in the curriculum, I was going to get reprimanded, might even get fired, because I had quadratic equations, Euclidean geometry, and a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I got
stuff that I would never use in life.
And so I wanted to, I wanted to teach, ratio, proportion, percent. I even had advanced math students that really didn't understand basic math concepts. And so I wanted to do, at that point, way back when, before the internet, I wanted to do the Denver Post stock market game. And they had this cool game, and it's still running. Economic Literacy Colorado still runs it. It's done web-based, But, in those days, we had Scantron sheets, and we'd fill out our trades on a Scantron sheet. Old school, and mail them in. And
did you go wave them on the stock exchange? Hey, this is my
But, each team of students was given on paper $100,000, and they could make purchases of stock. And, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to teach my students, PE ratios, and, we're going to get into charting and graphing and, talking about money and how all this stuff works. But the district didn't want me to do that during the regular curriculum, because students weren't going to be tested over those things. They were going to be tested over.
So they look at, hey, this is a waste of time. We're not going to be tested over this. We need to be spending our time on we're going to get tested on.
I actually started a club. So I did after school. I started a club, and students are coming in after school to do this. And it caught on. Students are pretty excited about this. I think part of it's very engaging. It's active. Students are actually doing something. They're not sitting and listening to me talk.
Yeah.
They're making these trades. They can actually see this as real world stuff that goes on. And it has to do with money. And I don't know anybody that doesn't like money.
Yeah.
Then it was interesting, because I thought I was going to be teaching a lot of math, but I ended up teaching a lot of current events and what's going on in the world kind of things, because somebody will say, well, why did my stock go down? And now I'm not teaching math. I'm teaching world events that are creating this. So it's fabulous to teach us, but a lot of times I'd have to tell the students they had to leave. The parents are outside saying, you gotta go. But they're so engaged. And I think this is the kind of thing, the kind of instructional activities that we need to do with financial literacy, things that really engage students and really make them see the relevance of it, so that they get involved with it.
Tell what you think about this. I think that as you see adults that don't know, or like you said, don't, do certain things, I think it's based off of just not knowing.
Right.
Because it wasn't introduced to you as a child.
Right.
But I look at the landscape of all the books out there. I'm like, what books are talking about investing? What books are telling kids about investing, telling them about credit, telling them about insurance, bringing them into real estate, so that not that you're just going to turn around and be like, oh, I'm going to go buy a house tomorrow, but you know what these things are. So when it comes to you as an adult, you know exactly what to do. Hey, I know what that is. It's my time to get it and kind of move on, right? So that's how I look at the financial industry. I'm like, well, everything is geared towards adults. So once you make a mistake, but what are you doing to prevent? And I think the best way to prevent and to change things is by children. So I was always wondering, like you know, I have a 12-year-old son. His name is Wesley.
Yeah.
So Wesley would bring home little books about, you know, the cat jumping over the hat, you know, little arithmetic type books. And I was like, man, why nothing about investing, credit, insurance, and why are we going to wait until you just figure out on your own one day, you know? So I don't know, why is that? Why?
But my experience is that a lot of times.
But Dave, I got you some. You know, you in luck today. But go ahead.
Oh, I'm in luck today.
You're in luck today.
Okay. Again, I go back to this. This has to be some kind of active participation, and I have nothing against having really relevant.
For Dave
books.
Young today, y'all. Wesley learns to invest. That was Then he got.
I knew this was.
Wesley learns about credit. And I know you're a Broncos fan. Terrell Davis, who wrote that one together. Wesley learns about insurance. Star NFL Hall of Fame.
With an orange and blue cover, I see.
Of course. See, I had to make it. That's yours.
These are?
Those are yours.
Well, so,
yeah, go ahead.
Are there activities in here?
Don't have the activities yet, but
okay.
I'm working on 4. And we're looking, you know, doing a backdrop of like, you know, curriculums and activities around it. But
yeah,
what we did, we partnered with Boys and Girls Clubs. So
good.
Our program turned kids into first-time shareholders of stock.
Yeah.
So, you know, we try to issue index funds to kids. And first we start off with individual stocks. We did Coca-Cola and Nike, S&P 500 companies that kids recognize. So if they read the book and they took quizzes. So they do have quizzes in the Accelerator Reader. That they take a 5-question quiz on each book, you know. Then at the end, you know, we give them a pizza party. Sometimes, depending on our funding, all the kids that get stocks, or it just may be the program may pick 1 or 2. We print them out a nice stock certificate, and they become a first-time shareholder of stock. The parents create a custodian account.
Nice.
We put that into their our foundation. Just transfer the shares over to them.
That's nice.
So that was one of the things that we did individually. But my ultimate goal, I want to get your opinion on this, Dave. My ultimate goal, one of the things I ran into with doing this program was some parents, they didn't even know what I was talking about.
Right.
So they wasn't even interested in a custodian account. And I was just looking for a place to put the shares in. Right. So I had a problem with the parents creating.
And then they become unclaimed property.
Exactly. See, it always ends back up to Dave eventually, but the kid would be excited. Yeah, cool, right? But then the parents, since they're under 18, the parents got to go create a custodian account. Some kids' parents may be illegal. Some kids' parents may be foster. Some kids in foster care. Some parents, they got so much going on in life that they don't even know what you're talking about.
Working 2 or 3 jobs.
Yeah, 2 or 3 jobs. What is this custodian account thing? They don't even know they're like, hey, here's my bank account. You're like, well, you got to have a broker account of your choice. Then, you know, I could transfer it to a broker. No, what are you talking about? So that's a whole nother class. So some parents are, that's, I don't even know what it was since they wasn't introduced to it as a child. So they neglected. Nothing that we could do if the parents don't, you know, be proactive. I said, well, man, this kid, how can you stop that from passing down, right?
Right.
Because if you go to a low income area, you try to give stocks to kids and the parents got so much going on or don't care or may have a sketchy background to where they don't even qualify to get a broker account, you can't even change. So my ultimate goal is when kids walk into kindergarten, they automatically have an investment account. Funded, right? People are like, well, how would you fund it? Everybody waits till you turn 18 and then you get all the scholarships, all the loans. Everybody just rush you with grants and all this stuff like that. I'm like, what if we just reallocated that to a kindergartner, right? Gave them a financial literacy course once a year, K through 12, right? I sit on the board for that to, you know, create the curriculum for that. So there is a curriculum from K through 12. You can take a financial literacy course, K through 12. And then now financial literacy is more tangible. I'm not giving you the pie in the sky theory.
Right.
It's like, hey, look, you have an investment account, but if you keep your nose clean, keep a clean record, you successfully graduate high school, this is for you. What do you think about that?
Well, I think actually that fits in line with my thinking as well, and I'm happy to work with you on this.
See, there we go.
But we actually got a bill through the legislature for College Invest for Kickstarter program, which actually puts $100 into an account for each child born here in the state of Colorado.
Nice.
And so I think that there's programs that we could collaborate with that already exist, and we could find a way to make this happen, not to work around parents, but to work with them where they're reluctant or don't understand. Often I find that kids come home and they talk about things, they educate their parents too.
And Dave, the thing is, not to cut you out there, the long term. So I've had some parents who went and did and said, "Thank you, Prince, for this Coca-Cola stock." They earned dividends, or they earned, they had an Apple or whatever, right? But I'm not following up with the parents. I'm only one person,
right?
I go in, I do what I can, but I don't have the time to go in and say with every parent to say, "Hey, now you can add on more, and here's the index fund, and here you can do this, and hey, you can do this."
Do dividend reinvestment.
You can do dividend reinvestment. I don't. So some parents want more, right? I've been on the other side, but so I'm thinking, like, is there a way to where it was a fund and the kids got a portion of a fund? You know what I mean? That's just kind of like where my head is going, like, so they can get, that back end. The parents are like, "Wow, I never even thought about this." Because every parent that got a custodian account and got the shares, they always want to buy more.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even think about it. Let me get $50 in here. Let me add another $100. Let me do XYZ. So that's one of the things that, I didn't have the mentality.
But you're getting them started. This is what the secure savings did too. This is the behavioral economics. If you can get people started, then they begin to pay attention to it. But I think you do make a good point. It's really hard to create kind of a support system, an ecosystem. For people. And we have a lot of different financial literacy efforts around the state. I don't know if we need a new one, but we need to
collaborate
more.
Collaborate more to say, "Hey, this is something," because I know it's there. I know somebody can do it. Firms do it all the time. I don't expect the kid to go in there and be like, "Oh my God, insurance, that's my favorite." Right?
Yeah. But not going to happen.
Exactly, right? Or credit. Oh my God, that's what I want.
Mortgages.
Yeah. But the thing is, I want that to not be a foreign language to you.
Right.
Like you heard of it before.
Well, and when people are ready to learn,
it'll be there.
You're going to go buy a house. All of a sudden, you care a lot about mortgages.
Exactly.
But until you do that, or you're trying to take a loan out for a car or something like that, you don't pay any attention to it. Even though somebody's handing you a book and saying, "Here's all the information," it's not relevant at that point. When it becomes relevant, that's when people really amp up their learning.
And you're right, because I picked up books and read books that were 10, 20. Like, for prime example, when I was born, I didn't know who Warren Buffett was, right? But one day when I got to a certain age, I was like, "Hey, who is this guy from the 50s
Omaha.
and 60s?" Omaha, Nebraska, right? So I started to pick up books that were written way before I was born, and it was relevant to me.
Sure.
So it's just like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Right.
So when, once you grow to that point. But that was my goal of, like, my son.
This is cool.
Yeah, my
son
Wesley's
your son.
Yeah, so I just kind of.
Does he like having his name on the cover?
He was so young, when it happened. Now he just turned 12. But back then he was like 3. He didn't even know what was going on. He was like, okay, so now he's seen it so much that he thinks everybody has books for the most part. He's like, "Oh, okay, well, whatever." So he's
look at his friends and you don't have a book.
Exactly. My dad been doing this since 20. I don't know. He was like, so we started out on YouTube together, but he wasn't really talking when I started out. Then he was like 2, maybe something like that, maybe 2, maybe 3. Then then when I started to write the books, he was like 4 or something like that or whatever.
Sure.
Then, it's kind of crazy how long it's been going now. But it's crazy that now, today, this is more relevant now than back when I wrote it and put it out, or what I was doing back then. Because I've been doing the podcast since 2013. So, but back then in 2013, it wasn't really like, financial literacy wasn't an industry yet. But it kind of has grown into that space now.
Right.
So, but when I moved here to Denver and met, Terrell Davis, he's like, "Man, I love these first 2 books. Make me a character in the next one." And blah, blah, blah. So, we made it happen. But I wanted to make sure you got those. I
appreciate this.
And get your thought process on, like, what is it, or how can we do that to where kids when they walk into um, what can we make it tangible?
Right.
So I walk in
and I don't agree with. I think the younger you start, the better you are.
Mm-hmm.
And we do.
And Dave, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but that's people always ask me, why do you want kindergartners? I said, because they got the most time to compound. I got 12 or 13 years with them. If I go get a teenager that's 16, they're going to need their money in a year or two. They shouldn't even be in the market, right? Because anything can happen. But if you give me a kindergartner, I at least got 12, 13 years of education and for them to compound. So that's why I aim for the youngest age possible. And I said, well, everybody goes to kindergarten. So as soon as they walk into kindergarten, the kid, we catch them right then and there and then just start to kind of tackle on that one.
Well, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kindergartners even are capable of some pretty high level thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And you just have to put it in a way that engages them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some great, Economic Literacy Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Rewards a lot of teachers that do a lot of really innovative things in their classroom that are very activity oriented, getting students very active in their class and budgeting and doing a variety of different things. And so these activities are really important to match with your book.
Oh, yeah.
So that they can actually make it work.
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, I got to speak to the other side of me being a veteran, retiring. What's out there for the veteran? What the treasurer got for the veterans?
Well, we pay real close attention on the climber program to veteran-owned, women-owned, and minority-owned businesses.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's 2 categories for me. Veteran and minority. So go ahead.
Well,
go ahead.
and climber is open to everybody, but we look at distressed areas of the state, and we know that minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, women-owned businesses were hit hard during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
And had a hard time coming back. So our outreach looks at that, and we target our outreach to make sure that those businesses are hearing about these programs. So anything you can do to get the word out really helps us make sure the veterans are hearing about
the climber program.
About the climber program.
So I want to do this piece as a segment. So something that Colorado does for veterans, the climber program is a good program for veteran-owned businesses.
Exactly.
So if you're a veteran-owned business, you have the climber program to where you can get pretty much a low interest rate,
below market rate
interest rate loan to maybe, but it's already for business that already got 2 years of history, right?
There's some they have
cash
to be
flow
established, but they need working capital to expand.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's good for veterans. I would definitely put it out to my compadres and let them know, what they're doing here.
And I also say go back to OEDIT and see, what they have as well.
Okay. Now, Mr. Young, is there anything else you want to leave here with the audience that's listening and watching? What do you want to say to them?
Well, we want to be sure that people understand that we're here as a service organization. Treasury is.
Excuse me. Get your little water. I know it's a little dry here. You got to be careful. That's why I woke up this morning like, wow, I feel like something is in my throat a little bit.
Right.
But it's pretty dry here,
it is.
in Colorado. So you're saying.
But we have a whole variety of different programs. You can go to treasury.colorado.gov and you can take a look at all the different programs that we have. We've talked about a lot of them. We're here to serve. And so we have other programs we haven't talked about. We have a property tax deferral program. Property taxes on top of people's minds.
Property tax program.
What? Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
right. Thank you for reminding me. So I can't hear you with this thing.
Oh, you wouldn't. Okay.
Property tax deferral program originally was for active military and seniors. And so you can go to and I'm blanking on the URL for that one.
Active military. How do you get, property tax deferral?
Well, so it's a deferral.
My property tax
it's not an exemption. Yeah. It's not an exemption. It's a deferral. But you get people that get redeployed someplace.
Got it.
And now, finances are stretched thin. They're not here. They're somewhere else, and they're stuck with a property tax bill. They could defer that. Now it's a loan. It's a loan against the property. So it's a lien on the property.
Okay.
May not be the right program for everybody.
Got it.
But if we got somebody who's in financial distress for one reason or another, and they can defer their property taxes and it keeps them in their home, that's what we want to do. I get seniors that are making a hard decision between eating, buying their medicines, paying their rent or paying their mortgage, and then paying their property tax, and they end up not eating or taking their meds because they feel like they have to pay their property tax, right? So they can defer that until they get their finances figured out, and then they can pay it back later, or their estate can pay it back when they, pass away and they settle. But it's not the right program for everybody. But the legislature actually expanded that to all property taxpayers. So we actually stood up a big technology implementation to allow people to actually go and see if they qualify for property tax deferral. Very easy to use, and if they want to access it, we're about to end that program now. It ends tomorrow. But it'll start up. It'll start up again next year.
Oh, it's every year. So right before
it's during property tax.
Property tax. Okay, got it. I was thinking like, hey, yeah, we do got this program.
We got this program. It's all over by tomorrow.
But you got it to midnight.
Yeah. but it'll start up again January 1st next year, and people can go in and they can actually check, and we can get to. I can't remember the URL.
We'll find it.
We'll get it for you. But all those things are up on our website, so it's worth going and taking a look, because we are trying to really be sure that we respond to the financial needs of people in the state of Colorado. The number one job is to keep the taxpayer dollars safe, and we take that job very seriously. But we also make sure that we take the financial lives of people very seriously as well. We want to lift everybody up.
Is Colorado finances in trouble?
Well, the state of Colorado is stretched pretty thin.
Is that like most states?
Not maybe as significantly as other states. The economy of Colorado is pretty strong. But we have the lowest competitive salaries for teachers in the country. We're below Mississippi for our salaries for teachers. Did you know that?
Yes. You know what? My dad is a retired school teacher.
Is he?
In Georgia.
In Georgia.
So he was a school teacher and military. So he went to Vietnam back in the day and went to college. Then became a math teacher. Then
math teacher?
Yep, math teacher. Him and my mom were both school teachers. So yeah, that's him. I dedicated my second book to him. My first book got dedicated to my mom. My second book is dedicated to my dad, and my third one is to my brothers.
Good.
So my dad so I always got a soft spot for teachers. And I used to always think like, Dad, you say you went to college and studied and did all this other stuff. I'm like, why? Like, we're not rich. So
right.
They were like, go to school so you could get a good job. I'm like, but we're okay. But you know what I mean? So I never understood the hypocrisy in that.
Right.
I don't know why. But some people are like, well, you don't work with 9 months out of the year. You get the summers off. And
no, you don't.
You get the weekends off.
No, well.
So I'm thinking.
I never did. Over 25 years, I worked all summer, and weekends was late nights, everything else.
And my dad had to go get another job during the summertime. Right. So I never understood why the salary gauge. I never was a school teacher, but I was like, why is it so? My dad used to say, if I'd have known this, I should have just stayed in the military.
Well, it's a very rewarding job.
Yeah,
it is like a service in the military. You really feel like you're serving people and contributing to society, and I think that's why people do it. But sooner or later, if the finances don't add up, you can't continue to have people teach. And we're at a pivot point right now.
Who makes that decision? Well, you got to have the money for it in the treasury, right?
No, taxpayers make that decision. So we have.
I never seen that on the ballot.
Oh yeah, we've had issues on the ballot over and over again, seeking increased funding for education.
People say no. I don't think I ever said no to that question.
Well, you may not have, but they haven't passed. And local districts put things on the ballot, and many of those passed. But statewide, we've not been able to pass something that would actually lift up education here in the state of Colorado.
That's crazy. That's a good point that you made. Maybe I didn't want to mix into one of those questions at the end where it's so convoluted. It's like, do you blah 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 look at the blah 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 increase in taxes to blah blah blah?
Well, it starts with the ballot thing. Always starts with shall taxes be raised?
Yeah, exactly. That's what
and people don't get past that one. They just go no. That's...
You know what? Now I feel bad because I have definitely done that.
Right.
I would look at him like, do you want to increase taxes? No. You know what I mean? But then,
but I still want schools at work. I still want my roads paved. I still want health care. Yeah. So,
yeah, that's how they put it in there. Like, do you want taxes to increase to do blah, blah, blah? Like, oh, no, but not telling you like, hey, we're looking to increase teachers. It should be opposite way around. We're looking to increase teachers' pay, but this will cause and I don't think people will oppose. I don't think personally people would oppose that.
Well, I think we need to educate people to help them understand. Again, people think that the economy is strong, and Colorado always does have a strong economy, even in turbulent times like we have now. But the amount of revenue that actually comes into state government is pretty limited. It's one of the tightest in the country.
Why is that? Well, I don't want to.
Colorado Constitution, Tabor.
They just go.
Ever heard of Tabor?
Tabor. Oh, who's Tabor?
Taxpayer Bill of Rights, voted in by the voters here in 1992. Let's see, when were you born?
I was 84.
Oh, well.
So I was in Georgia too.
Yeah.
So I was probably like, learning how to ride my bike, just getting the hang of that, maybe falling off or whatever.
Right.
So
I can come back another time.
Yeah, that's fine. I know it's good. I don't talk about Tabor. But is there anything you want to say to the people, listeners, watchers? What do you want to say before we get out of here?
I had a great time.
You didn't think you was going to enjoy it, did you?
I always do.
You was just like, oh, I don't know about this guy here, Prince. But see, look, you had a good time.
And I appreciate that you're focused on these important issues. So.
And, and this is legendary. This is old. This is like 2014, 15. But yes, that's always been one of my passions.
2014 isn't old.
Well,
I'm old. You're not.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot. You got to put it in perspective. He was like, yeah, before the internet, they had these things called newspapers. And my mom's name was put in the Denver Post.
Yeah.
I'm like, goodness gracious. But yeah, definitely thank you for coming on. Would you come back on if I need you on?
I would be honored to be on again. You bet.
Definitely thank you for stopping by. Coming
let's work on some of these ideas. We don't have to do it on the show, but let's work on some of these ideas together.
So we got that. We're gonna make that happen, and maybe I could stop by your office. I've never been to the treasurer's office.
Sure.
Please come by and see how the treasurer rolls and things like that. I was at the Economical Literacy Council.
Yeah.
Meeting last year, and those been
and
one of my.
Occasionally, we have the safe open, where the safety deposit box stuff is.
When is that going to be?
Well, you can talk to Sheena.
Okay, all right. I'll talk to her to make sure. Okay,
yeah,
that'd be a pretty cool thing to see.
I think it would be. I think you'd get a kick out of that.
I'd definitely get a kick out of that. Probably bring Wesley down there,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Blow his little mind. Dad, what are you doing? So, but yeah, definitely we'll be in contact. Definitely thank you for coming by and
thank you
what you're doing for financial literacy. I saw you that day. You was there with Jake Jabs.
Yep.
And Jake did the show, I want to say a month or two ago. And I was talking to Jake and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get Dave Young next. I'm like, did he? Did y'all? It was like, hey, I think
my schedule's pretty tight.
I know, right?
From one thing to the next,
I thought I was like, dang it. But okay.
I'm glad we connected.
Well, we made it happen.
Appreciate it.
So thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and children of all ages, and to the next video, podcast, cartoon, or whatever else crazy you see me do around the globe. My name is Prince Dykes. Peace. Be safe. And I'm out. Thank you.